Okay, well, I guess we're all here, so why don't we call the meeting to order? Um, and so the first action that we need to do is to review and approve the previous meeting minutes, and I don't know that we have any at this point to approve, do we?
I don't remember distributing any. The last ones I see that I have are from June.
So let's skip over that item then and move on to the planner's report. It was forwarded. I hope all of you saw it and had a chance to read it. And if there's any summary that you want to give, Michael, go ahead and do that, and then we'll move on to comments.
No, I'll just I mean, it was distributed. So if there's any questions about it, obviously let me know. But and then I sent out that supplemental. Lori had noticed in my I had failed to update it to be the most updated regarding Holy Angels Church. That was the request for funding for that. I don't know who has been really following along with that whole or this round of CPC article funding, but there was a request put in for, I forget, something around like $600,000 for CPC funding, and that was the intent for that was to bring on an owner's project manager, which is somebody that you hire to do a job for you with large projects like this. It's a requirement of procurement law in Massachusetts. It's something just adds a whole lot of cost to municipal projects, but it is beneficial in other ways. So anyway, that was what it was going to pay for, plus bringing the design of the improvements to the church to a higher level of detail, to envision basically the what would need to be improved for the church in order to make it usable, essentially. And then hopefully there would have been some money after those two things to then start implementing some of the changes that or upgrades that need to be made. It was, I mean, so that article is ultimately pulled, so you will not be voting on it next Tuesday. So as of right now, I don't want to say there's no plan, but that certainly isn't the plan going forward for Holy Angels. I think the reason why it was pulled mostly was because the town was, I don't know if we were caught off guard by it, because I'm not a facilities management person, but the town hall roof needs to be replaced, and that's going to cost a significant amount. And I'm forgetting the total of that, but it was more than $650,000.
3.4 million.
Yeah, it's a substantial amount that town hall needs for a new roof. And there was not enough CPC funding to go around for this time in order to provide for all of that. So select board had to make a choice, essentially, protect town hall or use that money to start chipping away at Holy Angels, or at least that's how I see it.
I think they may come back in the spring or next fall town meeting with it again. I don't think it's finalized, but that's kind of the impression I was getting.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's entirely a possibility. We'll see.
I hadn't heard about the roof on the town hall. Is it leaking badly, or?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It leaked down into a lot of the rooms, and much of the brickwork has to be repointed and redone, and there was quite a lot of water that came down the wall.
One thing that I've been confused about, Dennis said that in the town hall, the brick is a facade, and that the structure of the building is wood. And so, of course, brick holds water, and if it's somewhat against the wood, it'll continue to become wet. So I don't know if part of this has to do with a better vapor barrier in there, so that wood stays drier.
I don't have
He-
the
There was-
details.
He explained that it was an unusual storm because the wind came in on a side that normally it doesn't, and it was quite significant. So it caused a lot of damage, basically.
Right, and it's also 28 years since I did the roof, and I guess think it was a 30-year roof, so it's close.
Oh.
So the roof
Although
was
my
in-
neighbor Russ thought it was a 50-year roof, but I don't know.
No, it's a 25-year roof, and it's been 25 years according to him.
Can we get a metal roof so that it can last a bit
Only
longer?
if it's historically
Uh,
pertinent.
If
well,
you could fake it.
as seen on
Probably.
TV, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Did they have shingles in the late 1800s that look like what we have now? I'm sure it looks different, you know.
Yeah,
Well,
way up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
so, any other comments or questions around the planner's report? In terms of, I know there's some specific items that are actually on the agenda from the planner's report, like 45 Main, but any other questions or comments?
Where is Upton Ridge?
I'm sorry.
Where is Upton Ridge, and can you explain that about the
Oh,
grant
yeah.
request subdivision
That's-
change? No?
What roads are those?
It's up by the
Westbound
golf
road?
course.
Yeah, by the golf course. Yeah. Sienna? Sienna
go-
and
like,
something else. Yeah.
Glen-
Off of
Shining Rock?
Westboro.
Shining
It's
Rock,
kind of
yeah.
Westboro Road-ish, kind of back in there.
Westboro
No,
Road?
he's saying Shining Rock,
No, I
Shining
don't,
Rock.
also Hartford Ave.
I don't think it's yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You're-
Yes.
You're
up
thinking of
south.
the other one.
Am
Yeah.
I? We
Yeah,
That's
have
what I
more
thought
than
it
more than
Publish Creek.
55 and over. I'm sorry.
They're both.
My bad.
Yeah. So anyway, but the deal is with that was that so whenever that when that was permitted, I forget when because I was before I was here, but there were and are affordable units in that development. I don't believe it's a 40B development, but there are affordable units in that development. Those affordable units were never put onto your subsidized housing inventory list for some reason. So that slipped through the cracks. I don't know if there was an expectation on the developer that the town would spearhead that, or if there was an expectation from the town that the developer would do that on your behalf. But it was 9 or 10 units that never got added to your SHI list. So those are now added. So you get credit for
Oh,
them.
good.
So that's basically what that is. Lauren from my office was helping out. Was a lot of information gathering, getting copies of deeds, copies of certificates of occupancy. You submit that to the state, showing that those units are up and running and are filled, and so then we get credit for them essentially.
What percentage are we for the affordable housing in town?
We're at about 8% right now.
Great.
So I think that translates to about, because I'm not looking at the numbers right now, but a little over 100 units is what that translates to, being shy of 2,967 year-round units.
Oh, wow.
So 10% of that, 267. And we're at 8% of that, 8% of 267. So no, less than 100, sorry. So close, but that number is, we've had a lot of building since that number was set. So those numbers reflect the last decennial census, which previously they kept the 2010 census numbers, which was based on, but then they updated it to not necessarily the 2020 census numbers, because the 2020 census numbers are not considered to be accurate for certain reasons. And so anyway, the point of it is those numbers are going to change because those numbers are old and there's been a lot of building since then. So you're not going to have 2,967 units. You're probably going to have 3,200 units or something, and then that number grows. So the projection is, instead of being at 8%, by the time we get those new numbers, we'll be back to 6% or 5%.
Yeah, bummer.
I was so excited that we were at 8% because that was a
Yeah.
significant increase. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's better than a lot of towns I've heard. But yeah.
Okay, then if there's no further conversation or questions around the planner's report, let's move on to the EDC projects. And I just, is a business keeping kind of housekeeping thing, I think at this point we want to remove D, the implementing solar for town projects. It's just, right now, it's futile as we talking about this stuff, so.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, let's take that permanently off the agenda.
Got it.
What is
moving
that?
forward. Implementing solar for town of Upton properties.
On our
We
agenda.
don't get any credit for it. We won't get any credit for it anymore. The program that could be used to fund it is no longer going to be available. Just one of the other kind of issues in our current environment that we need to deal with. So I'd like to remove that if no one has an objection.
Are you talking about the installation at the end of South Street or the opportunity to get grants for solar installations on our
The
homes?
opportunity for grants, other programs to, promote solar or place solar on town-owned properties.
That the federal government took the grants away, yeah.
Okay, so let's move on then to the public parking vision and earmarks, soliciting bids and bids received. There were some things some materials that Michael sent around, if you had a chance to look at it, regarding a survey for the parking plan. And go ahead, Mike.
Oh, so I've been reaching out to, I've been dealing with, I'm still waiting for a quote from Stantec engineers to provide me something on that. Been working with DGT Engineering to provide me a quote. I think that's the one I sent around or included. It was just a little high, but I thought I could work with it. The issue being, you have $20,000 dedicated to this project for the earmark funds. We're already engaged in two of the other projects of those earmark money, one being West Upton visioning, the other being the infrastructure capacity report, which is in this list. So we're already under contract for that money for those two projects. We only have $20,000 left for this public parking, which is essentially the parking lot that was then envisioned in that concept D in the BSC group Holy Angels concept study. If you remember, it was they showed 2 Grove Street, which is the paved municipal lot, and 0 Grove Street, which is the gravel lot right next to that, and they, put them together and put a little parklet in there as well. So the intent is to get engineered plans to come closer to realizing that vision. All of the quotes I've gotten for bringing that vision closer for engineered plans have been pretty high, and not meeting that $20,000 threshold or maximum. So trying to be creative on how to best use those funds to get something out of it. As of today, and DGT was really helpful because they're peer review consultants for us as well. So they've been kind of helping me on this. I reached out to a surveying company because there's a surveying company that prepared the site plan for the paved parking at 2 Grove Street. It was suggested to me reach out to them to just do the survey of the entire area because they've already done half of the area. So maybe you can get a survey done for the total area and then work together with the engineering firm. Maybe it's DGT, maybe it's somebody else to do the actual engineering component for new plans, and then we can do something within budget. So I'm working. I just reached out to that surveying company today to see if I could get a quote on services. So to try and get something done, something accomplished with this money before June of 2026. That's the deadline I have to spend it.
So revisiting this, we have the visioning plan completed. part of that whole visioning process was the determination of applicability and doing an RD or NRAD. That's basically complete. Did Conservation Commission act on it and approve it?
Yes.
They did. Okay. All right. So some of the pieces of the puzzle are put in place. So the survey that you went out for solicitations where that would completely document that whole back area and give the basis for, final engineering, right? Basically.
Yeah, because I'm missing half of it essentially because we're fortunate to have that site plan that's available for the existing lot because that includes surveyed data, but we're missing survey data for the rest of it. So that's
there
adding a lot of.
Yeah, so there wasn't survey data when we got the property from the previous owners provided in the deed record? No? Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I'm glad there's, we can do something that's useful with the remaining dollars. So I think that's great. And then, I have a call into Conway School, and then also RISD is now, they had just sent me a notice that they were looking for things for interns to do or in their architectural design program, and they also have a landscape. I think they have some kind of landscape design program as well. I'm going to be talking to some of the faculty members and see if they might have any candidates that would want to do it for a thesis project or something like that. And if the survey was done, that gives them something to work with, so
Yeah.
both of which would be helpful.
Now that survey
Great.
data, wouldn't be redundant with anything to do with the bridge replacement, right? That would be in addition.
In addition to, yeah, that information is, just on the street and just a little bit further past, but it doesn't go further into the piece of land we're talking about.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. The West Upton Center Vision, that's well underway. We're waiting for the next meeting.
Yep, next meeting was pushed to
anything-
November 5th.
And my understanding is the last charrette wasn't as well attended as we might have hoped. Is that
We
correct?
tried. Yeah. It was it was me and Marie were there.
Michael was too, I think.
Yeah, and of course Michael was there. It was still fun and an interesting environment, but yeah, there was I think it's tough when it's like a 5-hour thing on a Saturday morning. It's just hard. I badgered the heck out of several friends. I brought one of my son's best friends. I felt like that was a win that I got another young person.
I think,
Had great ideas. They really did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
well, I think
Sonia
it's kind
Wire
of-
tried to come, but she missed up the times, so she would have been there. We're trying to get her there.
I think it's, partly just West Upton is very different than the center. It's a different dynamic. So
But we did have some good ideas. My daughter's starting at that new daycare that's right there that we're standing next to on Tuesday. So they're
good.
standing right next to Maya for a while, and I was like, "Why is there a playground here? And there's no signage. Like, what is this building?" And sure enough, the daycare just opened. So that's something else. I was talking to them about their sign and the difficulty getting their sign that we could talk about at the end. I don't want to like derail this whole conversation, but it was some interesting feedback on the process, and I was like, "Oh, we got to be more business friendly." But I'm trying to think what else the takeaways were from that meeting in September. It feels so long ago now, but we played around with the different buildings. That was fun, imagining if you could even pick up and move the senior housing to where the other housing is in the mill building, like behind it, and if you could have another plaza where that was, like, when you're thinking about these things with no limitations. It was a cool idea that a resident had.
Yeah.
Green spaces, but
Yep.
mini green spaces here and there.
Yeah.
Good.
And then there's the gas station, which was a whole
Yeah.
topic and chapter. Anyways, yeah, no surprises there.
And I guess that's where I'm curious, because this is a more appropriate setting to kind of ask, like, Michael, how do we like get in touch with the owner? I know he's not local, and just have him paint the damn building.
We
Like,
can, we could find a mailing address. I mean, it's just,
yeah, and like we write a bunch of us write some compassionate letters being like, please paint
I have
it.
an
Like,
idea.
want
We could find
anything.
Lady Babylon.
Yeah, she
I'm-
would do
No,
it.
I'm sorry, I'm kidding. Trying
You
to
know,
provide
if-
levity.
if somebody
the
wanted to
owner-
submit a complaint to the building commissioner about the signs that they have there, I'm sure we could get in touch with them.
Okay.
Hmm.
Could the Economic Development Council write a letter?
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Is this owned by Samir and Bassam? Who's
I have
owned it
no
for a
idea.
very long time? Because if the brother has a gas station in Franklin that I think is in probably better shape.
If you know somebody that can make it,
If
you
they're
can
the
talk to
same
them
people,
directly.
they've been there for a very long time and they were both there together and then the other brought another one and
Yeah, I'm sure that what Michael recommended is probably the quickest way, which is, you know, to just have a
write a
complaint.
complaint.
I mean,
Yeah.
that'll address sign clutter, but it, you know, my understanding of the issue with regard to that building is that the owners are not the ones operating it.
Yeah.
They are being operated by somebody different. So
They're leasing the building. That's
Yeah.
why I'm like, who owns? That's why I'm curious who
Mhm.
owns it.
that's always a challenge when you're in these types of situations.
Yeah.
With Valerie,
They're not that-
and I don't know.
They're not that far off the schedule of tank replacement, so they'll be looking for permits really soon. I think that it's been a while since their tanks were replaced.
Were they?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one did it, the other did it. I recall months ago I read the design guidelines, business design guidelines. A complaint could go along those lines of you're really calling it falling down here, friend. Your facade it's not even as good as the strip mall behind it that's,
Yeah.
circa 1970.
It's at least maintained. It's
Exactly. It's clean and uniform. Yeah.
There's a certain, you know, there's only certain a certain distance we can go with it, but in any case, it's probably worth trying to get their attention.
yeah. I feel like it doesn't hurt to ask.
It's
On a
not
side
just-
note,
yeah,
on a side note,
hollow
I did reach
complaint.
out.
Mm.
Go ahead, Michael.
So I did reach out to CMRPC to see if there would be a second phase of the facade program happening at any point in the future. I have not heard back yet, but I reached out just because I know from my last conversation with them, Mendon, last time I spoke, did not use any of the funds in that program, and so I reached out saying we would use it.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I
they don't
haven't heard
have.
back. I'll follow up eventually as well. But
I feel like they
Okay.
don't have. quite enough
Anything else on this subject? Obviously, that's next week that the next meeting is. Want to try and make sure we send out the same kind of email blast that you had before. Get out, an outreach. So.
Yep.
Okay. Then let's move on to the infrastructure analysis and status. I know we did have a successful bidder, right, Michael, on that?
yep, Stan Tech is doing that. They are another one of our peer review engineers. So there's not much to report on this other than they are actively working on it. I've been getting them all the information that they've been looking for. Sometimes it takes me weeks to find it because there's information sort of spread out everywhere. It's not centralized, but just tracking information down for them has been a challenge, but they are working on it actively.
Great. Moving on then, let's move to the design guidelines, all the materials that Linda Gay sent around, which are copious. I think it looks like she did a tremendous amount of background research with other communities and kind of compiled and cut and paste a bunch of different things together to cobble up some recommendations. It's a pretty significant amount of work that she put in, it looks
Yeah.
like to me. A lot of the stuff is spot on. I think the difficulty is, the devil is in the details, literally, in things like this, and trying to figure out where it's appropriate to place any kind of regulations,
Mhm.
and how to enforce them. She had some suggestions. Michael, I'm sure you have a lot of experience with this kind of thing. I'm not sure where she got the templates from, but they look pretty standard out of planning documents.
Yeah, and I haven't had a chance to fully comb through everything that she provided yet. But I would say, yeah, and there's no action that needs to happen tonight as a result
Right.
of this. But obviously, thanks to Linda for all the
Yeah.
hard work she did. It's going to be helpful, if only because, and I didn't provide this in my planner's report, but I worked with, maybe I did, working together with CMRPC. We just submitted an expression of interest to a grant program for the creation of design guidelines in town, in hopes to get funding to have CMRPC then take the lead on it. And my hope would be is with this amazing amount of information that Linda provided, is use that as a basis to inform design guidelines that we would like to adopt, right? So take what she has, use a lot of the things that she provided, and form that into, and this has been the issue all along with the document that we already have, into an adoptable set of regulations that can be enforced with the teeth that Jean was referring to. The intent would be to adopt something that the planning board can include in their rules and regulations under site plan review. So anything, it was envisioned when we submitted the EOI that commercial construction of any kind, really, in your commercial districts, as well as your UCBD district, and multifamily anywhere in town. Those would be things that would be subject to design guidelines. Not necessarily wanting to go down to obviously single family or even two family to be subject to design guidelines. But yeah, basically anything that would go before the planning board to receive a site plan would then have to follow these aesthetic guidelines as well. And that would be the intent.
And that would give the planning board the teeth, the objective is to give the planning board the teeth to be able to say yay or nay on different things, and if someone is not going up to standards, and to chase after them, per se.
Yeah, absolutely. So as soon as we have something that is folded into approvals, so right now the design guidelines that you have, I sent it around to the planning board and the zoning board so that they are aware that those guidelines exist for when they're making decisions. But the problem is that those guidelines are not in our bylaws, and so they're just not using them, right?
So they're
So
not
even
they're not part of a permitting process, right? So
exactly.
so the idea would be that these things would, anytime you file a permit, you would have to, if they're part of the permitting process, they need to be addressed. If they're not part of the permitting process, they don't. And so we have guidelines that have no actionable standard, so that's like, it's impossible. All they can do, all the planning board or ZBA can do is just look at them and say, we have these recommendations. And the developer or proponent can say, well, they're just recommendations. We don't have to do them. They're not part of your permit review process. So that's what needs to be corrected.
Yeah. And
Gotcha.
you can't deny something theoretically, you cannot deny something because it doesn't conform to a set of regulations that you don't have in your bylaws, right? It's just, it's going to be ripe for an appeal of some kind. So when you have it more formally like this, development companies and just folks who are in the development world research what they're doing before they do something in a town. And when they see that you have adopted guidelines, they're going to incorporate that into what they submit to you because they will have to, right? So because right now they're not doing that. We're not getting, first of all, we're not doing a whole bunch of commercial construction, obviously, but when and if you do, you're not getting things that are looking like they're coming out of a design guideline packet, right? It's preformed. It's whatever meets the landowner's needs or the business owner's needs is basically what it comes down to. If their needs are that it should be aesthetically pleasing, then that's what they are going to do as business owners. But if it's not, then
Lori, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, I have a question or two. So I remember that we did design guidelines when we did the West Upton visioning. We did them afterwards around the church in this part of town. And I don't know if we ever made bylaws out of them, but I know that when people were applying for the RFP, they were going to have to, I believed, subscribe to those design guidelines for that aspect.
That's correct. And those are the guidelines I was referring to, is those ones, Lori. So yeah, you do have those. They're not a part of your bylaws or regulations, so they're unenforceable. But they were folded into that RFP so that when and if we'd ever gotten a bidder for the church, they were going to have to incorporate those guidelines into whatever they were proposing.
Because it was part of the RFP. Okay, so that makes sense. And then my other question is, did that only pertain to those plots of land? So I think the answer to that is yes.
Yes.
But what you're saying is we're going to make design guidelines for the whole town, and is something like buildings can't be more than 2.5 stories? Because I believe we have that somewhere. Is that part of design guidelines?
So the suggestions, if you look at what Linda Gay said, that it would be hard to do it for the whole town, in my opinion. I think the concept is anything in West Upton is part of the West Upton visioning process. It seems appropriate that we would put design guidelines into whatever comes out of this process in the West Upton visioning process. What Linda sent did apply to the whole town, but in each zone you would have different design guidelines. So, it gets a little bit cumbersome to try and take this, this design guideline concept and make it one size fits all for every zone. It's just almost impossible to do that. So, I think that the question becomes, how do you want to spend your efforts? And honestly, how much pushback you would get in trying to do this on a town-wide basis and saying you can't, this is what you can and cannot do for facades on your house. It all has to be clapboard, right? Let's say that was a standard. That kind of gets a little onerous in terms of enforcing on a residential development of some kind in the RA district in town. And it's again, I think it's like, where do you want to spend your efforts? And you also have to keep in mind that planning board has to buy into it. It has to go to town meeting, I believe, to be enacted. So, so you get it. This isn't an insubstantial effort. Let's put it that way, to try and get something like this codified.
I think you've got to stick to like 140 or something, because there is no way something, and I appreciate like how aesthetically beautiful all of these suggestions are, but I feel like there is no way the whole town would be like, yeah, I will only do these things to my house.
Right.
And maybe that's not what she was really intending.
And then have to go through a review board. So the process would be is that there's a review board that suggested in these
That
in
would be
the
so-
suggestions. And that's, standard planning practice, for these types of bylaws in some communities. Let's say if you're in downtown Salem, or, some
That
of the
makes
communities on Cape Cod have similar things. There's a historical, there's a review board, and they even select the color paint that you can use. What's an appropriate paint color. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think in a town like Upton, we'd get an awful lot. We might get an awful lot of pushback on something.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
We
I don't
would, 'cause I
see
think a
us
lot of
ever
people-
doing, I don't see us ever doing that, because even if we made a historic district, we had pushback on anything that intense. But the other
Yeah.
thing that concerns me is that we, we make these design guidelines, unless we make them by law or unless we make them part of the RFP, developers don't have to pay attention. And then it makes me wonder about, I think the planning board likes to have the ability to make a general bylaw and then rules and regulations that they refer to. But just like with the small cell antenna bylaw, now we're making rules and regulations, and if they're really not enforceable, we're leaving ourselves open to telecom coming in and saying, you didn't make it part of the law, we're going to do whatever we want, and then we're open for a lawsuit. And
Well,
that's not a good idea.
I think the whole point of this is to make something that's enforceable, that gets put into our
Yeah,
bylaws.
and
I
so,
think that's what we're working towards.
Yes.
sometimes, sometimes, what is it? The term perfect is the enemy of good. And so coming up with something that's good and simple and enforceable is a lot better than, in some cases, being, wonderfully nuanced. Which, when you get nuanced, that means it's really difficult to enforce. From the planning board or anybody, whoever the board is that's enforcing something, the simpler the better, right? The more it's interpretable, the more difficult it becomes. So I think that's a balance that has to be struck. I think like I said, Linda put a tremendous amount of effort on it,
Yeah.
into it. I applaud the effort, and I think it's for better, the best part of it is it does provide a template. It
Yeah.
does allow you to take a look at it and say, is this a viable template for, let's say, when we're going to this next step of the West Upton visioning process, and try and put that in. And it also allows the dialogue to continue with planning board. And just to be clear, dialogue did occur with planning board. We just kind of have dropped the ball on trying to move the design standards in West Upton forward in concert, in collaboration with planning board. So if that's something we want to do, then we kind of need to make it a priority. We need to, and Michael, I think you are already doing that in a sense of talking with CMRPC and the planning board about how do we get something that's enforceable, and then get the planning board to act on it and bring it to town meeting. So, and we're a ways away from that.
Yeah, and I haven't had a substantial conversation with the planning board about this item. I don't know. It comes up so often, this conversation, that I can't remember how in depth of a conversation I've ever had with the planning board. But they were. I did obviously let them know that I submitted an expression of interest for the funding, and I've been informing them all along that my intent is to pursue funding to get design guidelines. So.
A couple of things. Are you referring to the entire all zoning categories?
No, just
I don't think
West
so.
Upton. So when we did the West Upton visioning process, that currently exists, we did do design standards for that visioning process, and the design standards were fairly detailed, right down to facades, that type of thing. But we never went forward on that particular Upton Center business district, in creating the design bylaw for that. We have a bylaw for the Upton Center business district, but not the design guidelines.
So I'm still a little confused. You're only talking about business
No,
design standards for only business. I don't think I
No.
got Linda's template, because none of this
No,
sounds
it's not.
familiar.
It's
I'll drop
not
it in the
the,
chat.
so for what we have for the Upton Center Business District is not just for business. It's for that zone, whether it's business or residential.
Mhm.
So because it's a mixed use zone, it covers
Yeah.
both types of uses.
Well,
Okay.
we don't have a lot of business here, and some of our businesses do look a little bit, they could be improved. Would it be feasible to start with businesses? Because it's a smaller number, and any new businesses that came in, they would, I don't know, have to abide by standards and maybe bring some of these other businesses up to standard. I can see residences balking, not wanting to maintain their originality, let's put it that way. But business, yeah, having some consistency with business, does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and that's what's there. Russ, you have your hand up?
I was just gonna try and clarify what my understanding is design guidelines for anyone coming new into that particular zone
Anything.
that we're doing that guideline for. So you can say, because, on 140, there are homes, they wouldn't necessarily apply to that. But you
No.
can't retroactively make a business
God,
redo their
grandfather.
grandfathered in. Any guideline would
Right.
have to be for something new coming in. For
Anything
instance,
Or,
instance
As
or
20B.
basic as keeping
or
your
it should-
area tidy.
but, or it's, it's whatever, so another way to look at this is anything that requires a permit. right?
Gotcha.
If you're coming to the, the building enforcement department, and you require a permit, that could be a triggering event for some of these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Okay. But outside of that, in an existing use, an existing facade, there's no ability to go and tell somebody you've got to do something unless it's an unsafe condition or it's a breach of a current. They did something new that's a breach of a current bylaw.
Gotcha. Unless they did something to require a permit.
Right.
Gotcha.
That's pretty much correct, right, Michael?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Okay,
And just
thank
for clarity too, the confusion is probably sourced in, we're kind of talking about two different things as well. So there's Linda's documents that she sent that are what she researched and what her opinion is how the town should proceed, right? And then what I was talking about is separately, but building off of that, what I had essentially applied for funding, which is the idea of design guidelines being restricted to certain zoning districts, not all over town, but for certain projects that tip a scale, hit a threshold, they would, be incorporated. So again, like a 40B, and 40Bs are their own monster, right? So they don't necessarily play by the rules. In fact, they don't at all. But in the instance you would have another 60-unit apartment building go in the middle of your AR district, maybe it's right next to Five Fork Farm, right? You would want design guidelines for a brand new huge apartment building right smack in the middle of what is essentially your agricultural center, right? So having something like that to tip to as a threshold to kick in, but not being every single building in town, every single new building in town.
So since we don't have anything formal to act on here, this is just discussion. In my mind, we have one piece of it that's already underway that Michael is handling with CMRPC and the planning board. I'd like to move this discussion forward unless anybody has anything else to add.
I would just encourage you to just, again, read through Linda's materials. If you see anything in there that you absolutely love or you absolutely do not love, let me know. And then we can come together again as a committee and discuss those things as we get further toward closer towards implementing something.
Mm-hmm.
Can you send them out again? Because I didn't get them, and it sounds like Marie didn't get them, so, or at least I didn't somehow see them.
Michael sent a few different emails. It was like a link to like everything for today. And it was a smart way to do it because it takes us to like the town website and I think there's like
Right.
7 things you uploaded.
Yeah,
There was quite a bit.
block.
Well,
Tonight.
Linda's package was 5 or 6 documents. So
Okay.
I think
I
that link
downloaded
that I
one.
shared though will take you to that
Thank you,
link
yes,
with everything.
thank
Right.
you.
It will, it will. So, so moving on, then let's,
Okay.
Julie, do you have anything to add as far as new, new projects or other projects?
You could
at this
probably
point?
change the wording on that to like town mixer. Marie and I have been trying to move this forward, and Michael's been helping too. It's way more complicated than I expected it to be because of the money
So
part. It's like
what,
not,
what,
there's not a clear way to pay for it, surprisingly. But Michael wrote back to me a couple days ago with suggestions on how to go about getting it approved. So it sounds like we should get Marie and I need to get some quotes and that and come back and
all right, well,
figure out stuff there.
why don't we redefine the agenda item right now?
Yeah.
And say, since it's one thing that we're trying to do, and that's an all boards meeting, basically.
Yeah. It's not
Uh,
even, it's an all boards mixer. Like the point
Okay.
being, it would be problematic for that to be an actual like committee meeting because the open, like what is it?
Open meeting law, no, this is a social event, right?
Yeah, this
Social
is a social event because I feel like if there's more, just people know each other better and just feel comfortable, like it just
Mhm.
like building those relationships, I feel like goes a really long way with things happening in town and just seems like a good thing to do a couple
Well,
times a year or maybe once a year even.
well, I think this has gone back and forth a lot over the years, but I think it's a great idea. And yeah, one of the things that I always thought was like, none of us know what the other is doing,
Yeah,
and how we can help each other, and even who the individuals are and how long they've served. I mean,
yeah,
the boards and committees in this town are populated with some of the same faces I've known for the majority of my life. They've stayed there. They've gone. They've served and they've stayed there. And it's great to have new committee members on this board because it's a relatively newly established board and committee. But some of the older boards, there's not a lot of turnover, and
mhm,
that's not necessarily healthy in a vibrant, trying to make the town vibrant and bring new voices to the table. So I applaud the effort, and I don't know how you want to describe it in the agenda item, but I certainly am enthusiastic supporter of the concept.
yeah. I would just say town committee mixer, and we would include employees too. I think it's a different thing. I don't want to make Michael work on a Sunday if I can avoid
No.
it. You know what I mean? Like I obviously
Thank you.
always want Michael there, but I'm just thinking it's more like the people like us that have other jobs and are mostly like free on the weekends at some point could get together and talk, and extend it beyond that if people want to attend that are employees. But the thought being like maybe a Sunday in February because February is not a great month. I feel like people don't usually go anywhere unless it's like school vacation. Here's something to look forward to, something positive.
You have an
Um,
anticipated cost of, I mean, what are you
That-
trying to fund?
that's the part Marie and I have been like emailing a little bit about with a thought. Marie, do you want to speak to some of the places you suggested? I want to give you the chance to talk too.
Well, I think well, it's finite here in Upton, but Rushford's. But you'd have to bring a food truck in. There's the golf course. They have a great facility for lots of folks and a TV to amuse half of you. And where else did we kick
We had a
around?
few other ones. I mean, there's
Oh,
always the town hall. You're like, what if it's what is it,
oh,
the stage room?
yeah, lunch. Yeah, lunch in the stage area on a Friday. That moves it to a Friday lunch where people who doesn't want to go get free lunch.
I know it's
But
hard.
it's Friday. I know.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to get people in the middle of the day
Town hall,
working
yeah.
ways because not
We have
everyone works
the-
from home.
So we
Friday
have done that.
afternoon.
We have done that before.
All right.
We have
Mhm.
done we've done meetings and events like a little bit of a Christmas party or things like that in the town hall. Just I'm not sure who catered it, but many of the board members came. And it was just strictly social. There was no formal presentation. It was just kind of come and enjoy each other's company. So.
Are you allowed to have
Yes.
alcohol in the town hall?
Well, if it's probably not. And alcohol
curious.
kind of helps everybody kind of get along.
Yeah, I don't
So
want people.
Rushford's has the
Or
vibe. I
not.
mean, but
Yeah,
would it
that's why I'm
be
like,
good
it's gotta
food
be like
trucks?
a controlled amount. I feel like you
Well-
wouldn't want an open bar situation.
That's
that would lead
different
to
for
chaos.
different people.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
you
I
can
think
still do a
Rushford
cash
sounds-
bar,
yeah.
but
Yeah, there you
Rushford's
go.
is gonna want compensation.
Yeah.
I've heard
I'm
of
just
town
asking
gatherings
because
at, what's the place? At
What do you
your,
But
we've had.
too many
town
voices,
gatherings there.
just one voice at a time for a second. Russ, you had something that you were just saying?
I don't know if we would do it, but if it's worded correctly, I am wondering if the Upton Men's Club would sponsor it for you, us.
Oh.
So I can
Hmm.
ask and see if that's something. It depend. I'm assuming it would have to depend on the way we word it to them.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Because that's what we fund. It'd be basically supporting the
Good
town.
idea.
Well,
Yeah.
would they want to
Yeah.
be part of that too? Because they do a lot in town and they do have an important voice as well. And even though they're not a committee, it's still the principle
I
of what they
feel-
do is the same, trying to better the town.
Right, but that
And it's
might muddy the water.
beneficial,
I'm not sure if
Yeah.
that's what you're
but
trying
it's
to.
beneficial for them too because they are community organizations. So getting to know our community emphasized organizations. Gosh, that was wordy. Our community people. Yeah, I think it would be a good.
I can explore that.
Okay.
Lori,
Are you
Lori,
a member?
Yes.
At
Lori-
Rushford's.
Jesus,
I
just
think
a-
that's a great idea, but in terms of them being a community group, there are lots of community groups, so I don't think we could have one community group and not others, but if they wanted to create the structure for it, I think that could work without them being
I think
part
they
of
should.
it.
I think we would just sponsor it.
Right,
don't think
I
they need
think
to-
that
I
might
don't
be a
think they
very
need
good
to be a
idea.
part of it. Because that is
The
not
other
what
thing is,
doesn't sound like what we're trying to accomplish.
right, the other thing is, I know that we've had town employee and maybe board events at Red Rock in the past.
Yeah,
Also,
that was the other one.
Laura's one, what you were talking about, when people get together and find out what each other's doing and how we can support each other, that's more the structure that multi-board meeting that we had, which was really great. But this
Yeah.
sounds completely different. And I do
Social.
think that on a Friday afternoon, when town employees, if we want them there, they have a half a day, there is an option there without it being come back on a Sunday when you're trying to be with your family.
Yeah.
The
So that
community
might-
sense, so the community, honestly, so town hall is very noisy, Rushford's is very noisy, you can't hear each other talk.
Mhm.
Just the acoustics in the place is terrible. The community center, it's a community center. It's for this type of purpose.
Yeah,
It's also one of the things that
Yeah, they've got.
kind of remains a little bit controversial in terms of its utility to some
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
get that.
exposing its flexibility and, what a great space that's been created and, a community asset. Bringing the boards and committees in there for social, I think, and it also has, an ability to have caterers come,
Yeah.
and
Have a catered
work out of the
kitchen.
kitchen there.
What
Yeah.
about the possibility of even giving each group 5 minutes to present,
Right, I think
recap what
that,
they're doing?
yep, exactly.
Or introduce themselves
Right.
too, or something, some way to make that not the entire time.
One of
'Cause that
those
could easily take
introduction
people time.
games
Yeah.
that they have at corporate functions. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
We
like
can
something
dig
that
out some of
facilitates dialogue and really makes it like a
Yeah.
fun thing and not just like, I don't know, too
A chore.
businessy,
Yeah.
you know.
No,
The whole
like I
point is to
said,
like make people more comfortable talking to one another and get to know each other.
well, so I applauded it. Lori, you're involved with the community center, and Michael, and I think, it's unclear to me, honestly, in the community center, who's the conduit for decision making. It seems like Matthew has, his certain purview. Then there's the Council on Aging that has their purview, and then, but I don't know who coordinates the use of the facility? And I know that it's a public facility, a town-owned facility that we can use for specifically this type of thing. But who do we schedule a time with and say, this is what we're thinking about?
Well, the way I understand it is, it was Joe Layden and he kind of gave it over to Matthew, but there is a form on the town website and that's the official way to do it. And then it went from Joe to Matthew and he sort of okayed the scheduling kind of thing.
Yeah, that was
So
my
I don't think,
understanding.
is that your understanding too, Mike?
Yes.
What's Matthew's
So-
last name?
Matthew is the library director. And when we didn't have a senior center director for a long time, and I think that's sort of how it started, and he was kind of good at it. But there's just times when it's scheduled and times it's free, and I think that anytime we ask for that it's free, we'll be given it. And there's different guidelines if you're going to have food, and there's different guidelines around time, and if you need a police person or if you want a custodian, those kinds of things. But it's all very laid out very officially on the town website.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do you want to wrap this up and just we'll reclassify this, this agenda item and stop making it so open, and so we can focus the next time we talk about what Russ can say is the men's group willing to sponsor. We can say someone has reached out to the community center and checked out the schedule. What do you want to name this?
Committee mixer? Is that
Okay.
weird? Open to something more catchy than that, but
Get to know your boards. I'm happy to help too. If you want more help.
thank you. Yeah.
Great.
No, I want it to be collaborative. That's like the whole spirit of this project, right? Is to have
Yep.
more than one opinion on the matter.
If it was the summer, we could do it at Kiwanis and that kind of thing, but and that
Yeah,
would be nice too.
I think winter's a great time to do this, actually.
Yeah,
because everyone will be around.
Yeah.
You could still go to.
people looking
Kiwanis.
for things to do.
You still go to
They
Kiwanis.
just, they won't be around as long.
All right, so let's move this discussion on.
Sure.
Julie, and we'll just get this renamed and submit a new name for the agenda for the next agenda.
Yeah.
And Russ, maybe you can report back, on whether
Yep.
the committee, and I think Julie and Lori, if you're willing to help, certainly in the coordination of the public space, working.
Yeah.
in the-
And Marie.
So, okay, great. All right, thanks. And then on the Upton Center visioning project, the revision to the map and everything, where does Dodson and Flinker stand on that, reworking the?
Yeah, I need to I don't have any update on the map
Okay.
Portion of it. I need to reach out to them, and I haven't reached out to them for anything because they haven't been paid yet. So I wanted them to at least get a first check before I ask them anything else.
Smart
So
plan.
I'll follow up with them ahead of our next meeting on that, because we should really try to close the loop on that, which probably won't happen by the end of this calendar year, but we can
Yeah.
probably get that done soon, very soon thereafter, and probably should.
Okay, great.
Is there,
Right,
was
then,
there a target budget for that?
Yeah, we have a contract with them for $76,000.
Oh, no, that we can spend. Is that 76 hours?
On-
If you have a Upton Center, I mean, what can we spend on improving something?
Nothing without. It's like they
Do you
designated
need the
that
idea
money.
first and then go find the money?
Yes.
Kind of.
Thank you.
Michael
That's all
finds it.
That's all. That's it.
Yeah, so basically this was this was money that was awarded to us that we chose to spend on this particular project with, on the West Upton visioning process. The update to the Upton, the downtown visioning plan was just kind of
Mhm.
rolled into it and incorporated into that piece of work.
Okay.
The things I have heard about West Upton that people tell me they concerned about the most, of course, are traffic, and the other thing is parking. And so someone like Sonia says, I'd love to have the gallery opening, but where are people going to park? And so you talk about, I'm sure you've been talking about other places to park that we haven't thought of, or places that we could make parking there. Because when I think about this part of town, where I live down in the older part of town, and people complain we don't have parking here when we have probably like 150 spaces or more. And down there, they have about 25, it
Yeah,
seems
it's a
like, or
lot
maybe
worse.
50 with Myers, and it's so, and so many more businesses. That seems to me like the big issue. But I also thought, here we are talking, I know that one time there was talk about behind that gas station that's been renovated for parking. We talked about a library there, but it's very rocky, that sort of thing. And then I was remembering that we've never done an MVP project. So this is a municipal vulnerability project. And this is something that we do to remove a danger of climate change that could happen as we move forward. So maybe there's a way that we see something there that could be altered and changed, and we could move it into a category like that with pervious, more pervious pavement, so that draining is different. Or on any part of town, we haven't, a lot of towns, Mendon has done their town buildings, they did this great complex and they've got this great pavement with all drainage and things like that. We've never done it, and that's a pot of money we have available to us from the state. And if that could be something that gets into the conversation that we might not have thought of, we might be able to be more creative about a project we could do, or something that we see that we thought we didn't have the money for, and maybe we can see, well, maybe there is money for it. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
All right, so then we're going to be waiting for a little bit of time to get something out of Dodson and Flinker on the revisions to the current plan. Let's move on to the next item, which is the zoning changes for consideration. Is there, Michael, what in particular were you thinking of when you put that item in?
This is for the microbrewery. So that I should.
Okay.
Hopefully that should have been in your meeting materials. I
was.
apologize if it wasn't. Okay. So the planning board on Tuesday made a recommendation to what's the formal recommendation? A recommendation to approve at town meeting for that language that you see presented exactly as it's written in the zoning amendment. So this was the change that we had been discussing a few months
45,
earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Rushford and Sons was looking to expand. They're still looking to expand. We were hoping that 45 Milford would be a location for them. Ultimately, that did not pan out, as we know. And so, but that didn't stop the idea that this presented, or the issue that it presented, which is that you don't have any space in your zoning bylaws for breweries / in this case microbreweries. And quickly, the reason why, when I was putting this bylaw together with help from Lauren in my office, was we compared all the different definitions from a variety of different towns, and we ended up landing on microbrewery because there is not just an assumed size limit, there is a specific size limit. So gearing it towards an operation like Rushford and Sons, right? But not having it tailored towards large scale brewery operations. If that's something that we want to explore in the future, or maybe not so distant future, we can certainly explore that if you wanted to invite that into town. But as of right now, again, using them as an example, if Rushford and Sons wanted to expand in town and move to a location where they were to only do brewing, they can't. They can't really do that anywhere in town. And so the only way to provide for that use is by making this zoning bylaw amendment. So it's pretty brief. Obviously, as you can see, it's just the definition. It defines it. It says this is what a microbrewery is going to be, should it exist in town. And then it is restricted to only your business districts by special permit only, which is just kind of typically how we do things when you're introducing a brand new use in town. Is you do it by special permit, see how that works before making any other changes to it.
There was a couple things I was surprised they left out the word hard cider in it, or not hard cider, hard seltzer. Sorry.
Oh,
In the specifics, like it says like malt, like liquor, whatever, like the apple cider and wine. But I felt like I know that Rushford carries hard seltzer. I appreciate it as someone that doesn't drink beer really that they have that option. So I would hate to see that not covered in there. And I was
that's
also
interesting. I'll have to look into that.
I feel like it's maybe a slight oversight.
Yeah, I definitely was not thinking about hard cider. Absolutely, that would definitely escaped me.
Yeah.
I wonder if, because I made the executive decision to include the whatever the regulations are that are cited in there. It's like 203 CMR something, I think. That is a reference to ABCC, the state's alcohol bureau controlling authority. That in that it defines alcoholic beverages by alcohol by volume. And so long story short is this definition is intended to capture for, things that are an alcohol by volume of like up to, I don't know, like 7% or something like that. But it excludes hard liquor, right? It excludes not
Distilleries.
necessarily the use of hard liquor is I'll have to look at that carefully, but excludes the places that make them. What do you call them? Not breweries.
Distilleries.
Distilleries.
Yeah.
Excludes distilleries because that's what we were not capturing in this specifically, was not including distilleries. That is a separate use category that should also be considered, or if you would like it to be considered in the future. It's a different type of use than just a brewery, distilleries.
I feel like I was surprised it was excluded because I felt like if it has like the same restrictions on how big it could be, that why not include that? Just to,
Sure.
I don't know if we'd ever get one, but it's nice to have the option.
So Michael, is this just a capacity problem for them? Because I mean, they're already brewing beer currently. So what? I was just trying to understand the specific problem that they're facing.
It's a capacity. They're not having a problem right now. Their problem is that they are and will outgrow their operations there. That's the problem. So they cannot expand on that property at all to increase their brewing capacity, which inhibits their business's ability to expand.
Because they have to have housing buildings on it. Like I was really surprised to see like the reason they could be there is because there was other units on the property, like that specific parcel.
That's basically how they. Yeah, it's an awkward setup from a permitting point of view, right? It works. It got them there. Great, wonderful. Now they're there, and we have them in town. They're a great business to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just I mean that just speaks to what was lacking in the bylaws in order to adequately provide for them in the first place to be here, right? So
in other words, they need that same zoning that they have currently where they are in a different location that will allow them to expand.
They're starting to retail their product at various different vendors around the area, and they can't expand to produce the beer that they need to export to those retail outlets in the facility that they currently have.
But they
And they
just
can't
need
just
more,
move.
more space. That
What's
has the
that?
correct zoning. They just need more space that has the correct zoning, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a vote required on this, and I'd vote to support the zoning change. Like to see, there's something other than used auto places in some of our business areas. So I'm fully supportive of changing, sponsoring that or recommending that we support the bylaw change.
So how much of an area, it's so odd to me to think that we're making a bylaw for one specific only kind of business. And so how many buildings, how large an area, what part of town is this will this bylaw authorize them to brew more beer in?
It's not for them. It's not just for them. This is for anybody that wants to do a microbrewery in an appropriately zoned business area.
Right, but only a microbrewery, right? So
Correct.
Only
any other
that
business
use.
comes in, no, forget about it. They can't try for it. That just seems odd to me. I don't know why.
Well, then maybe-
Lori,
Yeah, but-
if I may, it's in addition to the businesses that you already have available to be utilized.
Oh, yeah. We added use record shop at one point. We add,
Right.
it's that list that we're adding to?
Exactly.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
I
I'm
guess
in
I'm
favor.
confused though, because the zoning currently allows them to brew, to do their microbrewing. So what needs to change specifically?
What needs to change is, Gene, if I may, in your zoning bylaw, there is the way that it's written and the way that they were able to get permitted on the site that they are currently at. Again, using them as the example because they're the only example we have locally. But this, what Gene said, this is for anybody who intends to conduct the use. They were only able to get onto that site by utilizing the UCBD district's mixed use special permit provision that says a business can exist on the same lot with housing. That's what mixed use is, just generally. Business next to housing on the same lot, a lot of times in the same building, but in their case, just on the same lot. So they got a special permit from the planning board to say, we want to have this brewery and tap room on this piece of land that already has like a 4 apartment building or however many apartments that building is that's there. So they got a special permit in order to do that. If they were to have, if that piece of property that they are on right now had a lot line right down their driveway that segregated the brewery from that existing house, they would not be able to get a permit to exist. So that is, in my view, if you're talking about this use, no, it's not just in my view. That is prohibitive, right? That they would not be able to exist were a lot line to exist right there. So only by utilizing that mixed use provision to get the special permit could they exist. The issue is, for their purposes, they've run out of space. They can't expand their business anymore, is my understanding. And so, but when they reached out, it exposed the issue in the zoning bylaw, whereas the town does not have breweries or microbreweries or distilleries or anything else of that sort listed as an available use in your zoning bylaw. And anything, the way that the zoning bylaw reads, anything that is not explicitly listed as an available use is prohibited. And so and if you remember, I brought this issue to the EDC initially. You made the recommendation to the planning board to look into solving for this issue. The planning board was on board and has voted to recommend it. So they want to provide for anyone who wants to bring a microbrewery to town the ability to apply for a special permit for just a microbrewery in your business districts.
Okay. Thanks for that, Mike. Appreciate that.
Russ, go ahead.
I just did want to point out again that we're not authorizing another Rushford's. Rushford's is a tap room and a brewery. They're two different things. One of the things he's doing to expand is additional tap rooms without making beer on those locations. that's something that he needs to expand his capacity for. So we're allowing microbreweries, not restaurants with a brewery.
Correct.
But you let the bylaw open that someone could do that if they wanted to, right? Like that's how
Yes.
it's written, which is nice. It should be able to do either.
Yeah, I mean that reflects market demands, right? For you hardly ever encounter a brewery that is just a brewery.
Mhm. Right. So we need to make a motion on this. Is everybody in support of making the recommendation to planning board to vote affirmatively that we support this?
I am if you had that hard seltzer bit.
I can't change it now, unfortunately,
Oh,
because it's
okay.
already in town meeting.
I'm not
But
gonna
that is,
say
I
no
will
to it.
absolutely look into that, and if we need to
Yep.
make a tweak later on, we can.
Okay.
I'm personally not sure if I support it because I haven't really considered all of the pros and cons, so I think I might vote no.
Okay, that's fine. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion
agree.
carries, but not unanimously. Okay, let's move on to 45 Milford Street in the comprehensive permit. Michael, I think everybody's familiar with this, but if you want to quickly summarize, we want to finish
Yeah,
up.
and I touched on this in my planner's report as well. Unfortunately, the town is not in safe harbor status anymore. And the reason for that is because building permits were never taken out on 47 Main Street, which is the 60-unit apartment building that was the subject of the last 40B hearings in town. There's a provision, I guess, in the regulations that say if building permits are not taken within 12 months of a comprehensive permit, 40B approval, that the town loses its safe harbor status. And so that is what has happened 13 months after that approval. No building permits were taken. And now we have another proposed 40B in town, which is located at 45 Milford. I circulated the plans that were submitted and unfortunately not a great, very legible rendering, but there are elevations and renderings available to get a sense of, so you can take a look at those. It is just in the project eligibility phase, which is basically the state's phase. Mass Housing is currently just in the process of approving this project. But it essentially just gives the developer a ticket, we'll call it, to go then bring that ticket to us, the town, and say, I'd like to apply for a comprehensive permit, a 40B, and then we go through the zoning board public hearing phase. So that's the phase we're in currently, before they actually submit an application to the town. Marie joined us on Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? I forget when it was. Wednesday?
Maybe.
Yesterday? Was it yesterday or
Tuesday.
Tuesday? Who knows?
Oh, it
But
was
this
the
week-
28th.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. It was the
Tuesday,
28th.
yeah. Tuesday, we did a site walk with the developer, and there were a couple other folks there from town, and a representative from Mass Housing. Just get a sense of the site and its capacity to. We just stood there, stood in the middle of the property, and tried to envision buildings around us. It was basically the practice. That's what we did.
Can I ask a quick question?
Mhm.
If we had had the 40B started here, which I understand all 60 units are going to qualify for affordable housing, would we have been in safe harbor status then?
Yes.
So isn't it smart of that developer not to have started it? Because it's the
Ugh.
very same developer who's asking for this new
Oh.
project.
Snaps. That's a good point, Lori. Wow.
No comment.
That's a conflict of interest on their part for
A little bit,
certain.
yeah, feeling a little bit like that.
So
Yeah,
wait a
it is
minute.
a coincidence.
Just hold on a second. Let's back up first, if you don't mind. Russ, did you still have your hand up for anything?
Oh, no, sorry. No.
Okay, that's all right. So because he hasn't pulled a building permit for 60 Main, right?
Correct.
So the permit
47
is the permit expired?
No.
Get another
It's
year.
another
right?
year, right?
The comprehensive
He put a
permit does not
shovel in the
expire
ground,
for
so-
2 years.
Mhm.
But if they don't pull a building permit after 1 year, the 2-year safe harbor status is diminished to just that 1 year for which building permits weren't pulled.
Wow.
So,
That's
but those aren't, those, all 60 units of those aren't going to be affordable, right? It's only
They're not
20%.
all going to be affordable, but when you have a
it-
rental project,
It all counts, it all
they all
counts.
count. Yeah.
So is it 20% that's in that project?
Yeah, I think it's 20.
Okay.
Hmm.
And so this one, this current project 45, the proposal is 20% again, correct?
Yes, I believe it's 27
man-
units.
So it's gonna be mandated, but it's gonna be mandated by the town, it's gonna have to be at least 20 units to qualify for 40B, right? 20%.
Yeah, it's either 20 or 25%, I forget, but it'll be a total of 7 affordable units out of the 20.
Right, okay.
27, yeah.
Right.
It's more than 20%.
So,
I've
so
been
is that
told though that
25?
there's a
Like,
good
Either way.
chance that
Honestly,
they
we're
won't be
gonna
able
go
to
to-
put 27 units on there.
I wish they all were affordable. Like I get it's like if you're gonna
Yeah.
have this giant project, you want it to be completely helpful
Agreed.
and not just
Unfortunately, economics.
Money.
My understanding also is that the reason that the other 40B project wasn't started is because one, money's too expensive to borrow right now. But
Mhm.
that they had to put a shovel in the ground by July 15th because they had to begin to do something, so that's all they did. And then, it sounds to me like this project on 45 Main Street maybe is not such a bad thing, but it's a little
Mhm.
bit suspect to me that it feels like a little bit like an end run, where if
Mhm.
they had got that started, they wouldn't have been able to do this.
Mhm.
I mean, that's
So-
absolutely correct. That if they had pulled the building permits, then we would still be in safe harbor, and the town could choose to not have to go through this process for 45 Milford. But that aside,
Mhm.
now that we're all up to speed on the procedural specifications. Otherwise, the type of project is decent in
Mhm.
terms of scale, right? So it's not a 60-unit apartment building. It is 4, 6, or 7 townhouse units, four buildings with the capacity of like 6 or 7 units each, all of which are going to be like townhouse style, right?
Mhm.
And so we've been doing a lot of talking in town over the last year with regard to affordable housing, the Affordable Housing Trust, Planning Board, Select Board at times. And the topic of conversation that often comes up is a planning term that's referred to as the missing middle, whereas
Mm.
it's not giant single family homes and it's not huge, large scale apartment buildings. It's
Mhm.
this in between of 2 families, 3 families, townhomes, the clustered housing that is not overly clustered, I suppose. That the missing middle is what it's called. So, and there's not, to my understanding, there is a good amount of that type of housing in town, but a lot of it's legacy, right? You have
Mhm.
those 2, it's called Piano Row for some reason in town. I'm not sure why that is referred to it like that, but along West, it's not West Main Street at that point. I think it's just Main Street still. In West Upton, basically, where you starting at like McCormick's property and heading towards the center, you have those like 2 families.
Mhm.
So, you have that type of housing in town. And I can't picture of where else it exists more newly constructed, but it's something that's needed.
So
Are
this
these
would
houses-
that.
Are they gonna be for rent, Mike, or are they gonna be purchases?
Owner.
They're gonna be purchases. So do you have a sense of what something like that about would go for?
No, but I believe I will, because I that'll be a part of the submittal package, I think, is the anticipated rates, or at least for the affordable. I'll have an understanding what the affordable rates will be, but through that we can get an understanding of what the market rates would be.
What my concern is building houses where families are gonna go with kids that are gonna eat away at our tax base instead of adding to it, as you know. So maybe there'll be single people that buy it. Maybe there'll be a couple without kids. Maybe there'll be a couple with little kids, and maybe by the time they get older, they move to a bigger house. I don't know. But I'm always thinking about how can we bring people to town that are not eating away at the tax base and
There's-
that are adding.
People
tax.
aren't having kids at the same rate. I know it's like
Right.
a lot of young people I know now, especially at work, I see they don't want kids. So like,
Right.
I don't think that doesn't necessarily means that someone with kids is
So-
gonna move in, honestly.
So can we, for a second, just circle back? We
Yeah.
did want to try and close the meeting in the next few minutes here. Is there any substantive comment that we can make to control this on a 40B? I mean, I know that we're being asked, is there anything that we want to include in a letter? But my understanding is our input is somewhat limited and constrained as far as what we can ask for. So it would be helpful to me, Michael, if you could say, tell us what we can contribute in terms of, influence.
Yeah.
Are we contributing water and sewer? Do I understand that we
No,
have?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm talking about contributing comment as the EDC to the in a letter to Mass Housing.
I mean, I think last time the position the committee took was a relatively supportive one, given the location close to the center, and it's the opportunity of inviting, to Lori's point, especially when it's apartments, you're inviting people, not usually with a lot of children, but so single people with typically expendable income to then contribute to the local economy, right? And so I would imagine that's pretty much similar case here. So I mean, housing and economics are married, right? They don't exist in a vacuum, away from each other. So it's an important component to feed your local economy. As far as, I mean, your comments can be, they don't have to be restricted. They can be as narrow as you'd like to be in that context. But any comments are helpful. I mean, if you wanted to comment on aesthetics, sure. That's fine as well.
That's all right.
So I think here's one place where we do have the opportunity to say, well, we have design standards in the Upton Center Business District. Can they be, incorporated into this design, which are, the facade, the traditional New England vernacular, that particularly on these things that do, as you said, there are other examples in town that are somewhat similar. But when does the comment period close? When do we need to submit a letter?
Unfortunately, it's relatively soon, November 17th. I can get an extension on it if the select board would like me to get an extension on it. As of this point, I'm unsure if the select board is going to submit comments, but that's just something I have to talk to Dennis about and get it on for their agenda when they would like it on for their agenda, sort of thing. So
if we can have influence over design guidelines here and use the document you're referencing for Upton, then I'm in support of it, honestly. Like, as long as it doesn't look terrible.
Yeah. Lori, go ahead.
I have a quick question. My understanding is the design guidelines in the Upton Center Business District are 2.5 stories, and I believe these are 3 stories. So would we need to ask them to make it 2.5 stories, or is this a variance, or how would that work?
I think they're technically 2.5. I'll have to look at them again. when you get to grading matters, right? So if you have like a walkout basement, we dealt with this exact question with the other one, is like, does a walkout basement, even though it's like a high walkout that is essentially its own story, does that count as a story? That sort of thing. So that's similar to what is happening here, because again, this is also on a bit of an incline, the lot. So it's been presented to us as 2.5 stories. Is it?
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not sure, just based on the height, but yeah.
Okay, thank
This plot is entering into the historic district, so it would be good if the architecture could kind of blend into the surrounding houses somewhat, maybe use clapboard siding instead of the traditional or the usual 40B type style. That's a good consideration.
Well, like I said, we have the design standards for the Upton Business District that do refer to exactly these kind of issues in terms of facade, that we could make the recommendation that they honor or make their best efforts, the design standards that we've established.
Yeah, I
Right.
think that'd be great.
That would be good to go in the letter. And it does look like a pretty nice design, yeah, compared to some of the other things we've seen. I
Nice
mean, I thought it was going to be a big, tall building in the center of town, and I'm just thrilled it's not.
Are there any other comments? Since we do have to make a recommendation, and I think for me, like I said, we put a lot of work into the design standards. Let's try and ask them to use those design standards. And if there's anything else, I know theoretically we need to make all our recommendations as the committee right now, but Michael, could we send in comments individually?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
And there's also 2 houses on the lot that need to come down. Who owns those houses, and what's that all about?
I'm not sure
I
who
think
owns them right now, but
Lobitzer owns them because they had come to the historical commission to request a demolition, which we approved.
Okay,
Because they're not of any sort of significance, I thought.
Well, they are older than 75 years, so that prompts them to come before the historical commission, but the historical commission determined that they don't have any historical significance to the town.
Okay.
The one
Okay.
building is basically ready to be knocked over.
Can we make a recommendation then, so we can end up closing our
Sure.
meeting here on, in terms of our joint recommendation in terms of using the existing design standards of the Upton Business District?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. Any other comment on this? And if you do have other comments, Michael has opened up the opportunity to say that you can individually forward them to him. And I'd like to look at this a little bit and see if there's anything that I might want to add. But I think for right now, we have something we went through a process to establish, and I think we should try and stick with that. Okay. Let's establish what our next meeting will be, because I don't think there's anything. Oh, well, is there any other business that we didn't anticipate? I'm sorry. Okay.
Here, did you?
Yeah. So I was wondering if anyone else on this group would consider taking over the secretary duties that I've been holding for a period of time.
Everybody wants that job.
Man. AI can't do that for us yet? Wouldn't that be nice?
you know what? I can Sue Brower in the manager's office is using some sort of AI note-taking assistant. I've noticed at the select board hearings. I'll ask her about that.
Oh,
And
I was kidding, but that's exciting.
if nobody else is jumping in on it, I can Pierre, I can ask Lauren in my office to if you like, even if it's just like a rough outline that we can present her, and she can fill out the rest of like the actual minutes. I can try to work it. Hopefully it won't overburden her. She has other minutes that she's doing, but
I feel badly that our minutes aren't online.
I'm probably behind on a couple months,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
they mostly are online now, I
Are
think.
they? Okay.
Yeah.
When I had looked before, they weren't, but they must have been somewhat submitted.
Mhm.
Great. And so the last Thursday of November, of course, is Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah. Let's not do that, Dave.
Yeah.
Gonna vote not to.
Sorry, we can't have Thanksgiving. We're having a meeting.
All right, how about the week before Thanksgiving? Does that work for
It would be
everybody?
the 20th.
I think that works.
It's
Okay.
3 weeks
Let's
from
shoot for the
today.
20th, and
On a Monday?
yeah,
Thursday.
and let's shoot for getting AI to take over Pierre's work, because it is. Pierre, thank you for doing this for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
thanks,
like
Peter.
it's not something I really want to do.
To think this gig.
Isn't there a transcribe option when you click record? Sometimes it says record and transcribe.
It'd be a
In
lot.
Teams, it's not great. The transcription's not great in Teams.
Okay.
That'd be so much information, but I guess if like it did work well, then you could have AI summarize it for you.
Right.
Yeah,
After.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you
Well,
looking for a motion to adjourn?
yes.
I
Second.
move we adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
I
Thank
second.
you. All in
second.
favor? Aye. Thanks,
Aye.
everybody. We'll see you on the 20th.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy
Good night.
Halloween.
Bye.
Good night.